What if the greatest Hollywood villain origin story of our generation was actually a carefully calculated illusion? Reporting live on the collapse of Hollywood's ultimate golden couple, it is incredibly easy to look at the daily headlines and see only a woman consumed by defiance. For nearly a decade, global audiences have watched a seemingly unbreakable modern fairy tale mutate into a scorched-earth legal battle over custody, French vineyards, and completely shattered trust. From the anchor desk, the narrative sold to the public is one of pure antagonism, painting the actress as a calculating matriarch willing to burn down the remnants of her past. But investigative sources suggest that narrative is merely scratching the surface. The reality of her life right now is infinitely more layered, shrouded in a quiet, deliberate isolation that speaks volumes about the invisible scars left by highly public emotional trauma. When a love that defining and all-consuming dissolves, it does not simply vanish, it leaves a heavy, silent vacuum. Behind the towering gates of her heavily guarded estate lies an agonizing, unseen conflict between a protective rationality and a heart that stubbornly refuses to erase history. Could the most expensive divorce in entertainment history actually have absolutely nothing to do with the money? As we delve deeper into the radioactive theater of this split, the prolonged warfare over the sprawling Chateau Miraval estate in France is fundamentally misunderstood by casual observers. Legal experts reviewing the case note that observers see a bitter battle over assets and corporate control. But beneath the suffocating legal jargon lies the raw anatomy of a profound emotional severing. Psychological analysts attached to family court proceedings often note that apathy, not hate, is the true opposite of love. The sheer, blinding intensity of their ongoing conflict, the relentless legal filings and absolute refusal by either party to surrender an inch of ground, is a dark testament to how deeply intertwined they were. You simply do not fight this fiercely, for this many consecutive years, over someone who meant absolutely nothing to you. The courtroom effectively morphed into a desperate battleground, a place where all-consuming passion mutated into corrosive resentment. Every legal blow exchanged in the public record manifests the profound betrayal they both endured, signaling a catastrophic collapse. The incident that shattered a global empire didn't happen in a courtroom. It happened thousands of feet in the air. Turning our attention to the catalyst of this entire saga, the infamous 2016 private flight remains the dark cloud hanging over the fractured family. While exact details remain legally sealed and locked behind heavily redacted reports, our investigation confirms the aftermath led to severe, life-altering inquiries that forever shifted the family dynamic. We must navigate this carefully to adhere to broadcasting standards, but it is clear that highly sensitive altercations occurred, prompting immediate intervention. The actress wasn't just fighting for corporate control. She was navigating a complex web of legal mechanisms. She reportedly weaponized her own grief, turning heartbreak into a shield of impenetrable armor. Insiders claim she was fully prepared to wage a relentless campaign if it meant securing the absolute safety and stability of her family unit. To dismiss her ruthless legal maneuverings as mere vindictiveness completely ignores the terrifying vulnerability of a mother desperately attempting to shield her children from the flying shrapnel of an exploding, highly publicized life in the spotlight. What secrets are buried under millions of dollars of legal fees and weaponized non-disclosure agreements? Recent legal filings obtained by our newsroom have brought explosive new controversies to light. Accusations have surfaced in official dockets suggesting that highly restrictive non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs, were utilized as a mechanism to maintain absolute silence regarding the family's turbulent past. Our legal correspondents indicate this shifts the entire perspective of the divorce, from a standard asset division to a fight against being entirely muted. When the relentless lawyers finally leave the room and the sprawling estate goes completely quiet, the media's constructed narrative shatters. The regret she harbors, the unspoken sorrow lingering away from the cameras, is not the simplistic remorse of a woman wishing to turn back time. Her emotional reality is reported to be far more sophisticated and terrifying. It is the crushing weight of acknowledging that the idyllic family structure she fought so desperately to create, a beautiful, globe-trotting tribe bound by unconditional love, was ultimately unsustainable under the toxic, immense pressures of their shared reality and extreme fame. Is it possible to legally sever a marriage while simultaneously grieving the ghost of the man you left behind? Sources hidden deep within elite Hollywood circles have quietly hinted to our producers about periods of profound, isolating mourning experienced by the actress. Reports indicate she was not mourning the necessity of the split itself. Instead, she was grieving for the man he used to be to her, and for the magnificent future they had confidently mapped out together on the world stage. It is an entirely possible, though agonizing, human experience to know with absolute certainty that leaving was the only viable option for survival, while simultaneously grieving the heartbreaking necessity of that exact departure. This is the agonizing paradox she has had to navigate in front of a global audience and relentless cameras. You can physically relocate across the globe, and you can divide the massive bank accounts, but you cannot immediately evict a decade of profound intimacy from your emotional memory. She was effectively mourning a ghost, acknowledging that sometimes, despite the purest intentions, love cannot conquer the insidious issues that infect a highly scrutinized marriage. The most shocking revelations aren't coming from high-paid lawyers, but directly from the children she fought to protect. If her high-profile romantic life has been characterized by breathtaking arrivals and devastating departures, her role as a mother has been the single, indestructible constant. When she made the decision to walk away, it was a calculated choice to prioritize her children's long-term psychological well-being over her curated public reputation. She absorbed the brutal vilification willingly. Now, as her children transition into young adulthood, the results of that massive sacrifice are making headlines worldwide. When Shiloh reached her 18th birthday, the entertainment news cycle was stunned by the immediate legal filing to formally drop her father's last name. This was a monumental, independent decision that sent shockwaves through the industry. It was not the action of a child being manipulated, but the definitive move of a young adult stepping into her own power, completely free from the suffocating shadows of her parents' turbulent history. The actress is no longer co-piloting the ship, she is the sole navigator, and her children have clearly chosen their anchor. As the children build their independent empires, are they sending a synchronized message to the world? Following Shiloh's highly publicized legal maneuver, our correspondents have tracked similar shifts across the rest of the family, indicating a unified front. We saw Zahara confidently introduce herself at her prestigious college sorority using only her mother's maiden name, a moment that quickly went viral and signaled a profound allegiance. Furthermore, we have witnessed rumored, heavily censored social media posts from Pax, expressing deep, unfiltered frustrations regarding past family dynamics. These synchronized actions suggest a family completely redefining its own identity away from the patriarchal shadow. Every professional film project the actress accepts or rejects, and every rigid legal boundary she enforces in the courtroom, appears dictated entirely by their shifting needs. The monumental energy she once poured into sustaining a fractured marriage is now entirely devoted to empowering her offspring to build their own lives. They are forging their own identities, and she remains their unshakable foundation amidst the relentless media storms. Why is the Hollywood media machine so utterly terrified of a powerful woman who simply refuses to date? As the children build their own independent lives, the entertainment industry simply cannot handle the fact that she refuses to play the Hollywood game anymore. The ecosystem inherently demands romantic coupling, operating as a relentless machine that constantly attempts to pair off its stars to feed the public's insatiable appetite. Yet, she has aggressively rejected this forced narrative. Tabloids churn out weekly fabrications, desperately linking her to various billionaires, enigmatic musicians, or younger actors, trying to force her back into a digestible box. But she remains entirely aloof, refusing to grant these baseless rumors the dignity of a single response. Our cultural analysts note this intensely closed-off nature is not a symptom of bitterness. Rather, it is a profound, triumphant reclamation of her personal sovereignty. For the first time in decades, her identity is not tethered to a high-profile male partner. She is entirely singular, finding unshakable peace in her own company and rejecting the industry's archaic expectations. Has the woman once known for her wild, destructive romances finally found her sanctuary in absolute loneliness? Now navigating her 50s, she has crossed a psychological threshold that absolutely terrifies many women in the relentless spotlight of the entertainment industry. She has reached a level of maturity where she realized she does not need a romantic counterpart to validate her existence or prove her desirability to the viewing public. The frantic, exhausting energy of desperately attempting to merge her incredibly complex life with another human being has been entirely replaced by a calm, grounded acceptance of her own autonomy. She bravely looked directly into the terrifying abyss of absolute loneliness and discovered that it is not an abyss at all. It is a sanctuary. The woman universally famous for wearing her bleeding heart on her sleeve has locked the heavy doors to her private life. She constructed an impenetrable fortress of silence around her romantic endeavors. This profound transition into a happily guarded single life represents a monumental shift in her worldview and her understanding of her own intrinsic worth outside of a partnership. After walking barefoot through the fires of Hollywood's most explosive divorce, what is the true price of her freedom? In our final analysis of this unprecedented celebrity fallout, her story in the years following the split is not a Hollywood tragedy, despite the undeniable sorrow. It is a triumphant, complex narrative of a woman who bravely chose a brutal truth over a comfortable lie. When the love finally ended, suffocated by circumstances too heavy to bear, she did not fade into obscurity. She stood her ground in the smoking wreckage of her former life, fighting with terrifying ferocity to secure the future of her family. She carries the deep, invisible scars of her past not as a pitiful badge of victimhood, but as a silent testament to her incredible endurance. The public may never fully forgive her for dismantling the grand fantasy they were obsessed with. But within the highly guarded walls of her home, surrounded by the young adults she fought to protect, she found something far more valuable than any Hollywood romance. She walked through the fire of the most heavily scrutinized divorce in modern history, emerging entirely, unequivocally, and beautifully free.